Well, I've often said that I risk my life for nothing in Fallujah, and I'm totally comfortable saying that. And most people can get that and appreciate that. And even people who are totally pro-war can say, all right, you're missing something, but more power to you to say that. But the people that do appreciate it, and I think it's most people I talk to, when I say I risk my life for nothing, they get that and they can appreciate that and know that I didn't see anything productive coming out of my service specifically in Iraq. But when you explain to them the obvious logical corollary, which is that if I risk my life for nothing, it means that the Marine that died next to me in Fallujah died for nothing. And it means that the Marine that's going to die in Iraq in the next 24 hours is going to die for nothing. And that responsibility for that is incumbent upon all of us, and the burden of that rests on all of our shoulders as Americans. And that is more than most people are willing to accept emotionally. And it's really tragic because not only did I risk my life for nothing, I feel like I risked my life for less than nothing. I mean, it was like I was lied to support not just the war at first, which I didn't support, but then the occupation afterwards. And we are still being lied to every single day. We are being told, fed propaganda and propaganda and propaganda, and especially military families and military communities and people in the military. We're the most propagandized population on the planet. At the Chow Hall at Camp Fallujah, we had the news on for a while, and then when the Marines took over for the Army, they said, nah, we're just going to play sports until they got the military news network or whatever it's called. And then we got that propaganda, and that was the only way we were able to get any kind of news. But what's really important here, I think, is that not only that those individuals and families and people who are so directly affected, realize and accept that we risked our lives for nothing, and that the whole war is a waste, and that my life and my time there was a waste, and that the people that died there, their lives were literally wasted. Not just wasted, but stolen. They were, some people have gone so far as to call it technically murder on behalf of the president and all those who lied us into war. I don't know about the legal definition of murder, but it was definitely some deliberate deception there. And it's only when we, as a whole country, can get over this psychologically and understand that we make mistakes as a country. And when we make mistakes, they have those dire consequences. And when we allow our government to lie to us and to support in a war, and we don't stop it, and we don't help hold them accountable, the consequences of those mistakes, the responsibility for that is on all of us.
Let me ask you a question. Have you had any personal encounters with either veterans or, more importantly, families of people who have been killed where you've made this statement and been challenged on it and had to deal with their justifying that it couldn't have been a mistake?
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell me about that. Tell me how that goes.
Well, just walking around, wearing Iraq Veterans Against the War is suggesting of all that. That I just said. I mean, it really says if you're against the war, then you must think it was a mistake, and if it was a mistake, therefore it was a waste, and therefore those who died for nothing.
So can you tell me about any encounters you've had with people who just can't accept that?
Well, I mean, sometimes you run into guys who are on active duty who just are so full of rage and post-traumatic stress disorder that they can't even manage their own emotions on a day-to-day basis. There's no way they're going to be able to confront this reality that's so difficult to confront, and it wasn't easy for me to confront it, so I don't have any expectations. But I think that's a really important part of our work in Iraq Veterans Against the War, is helping other people understand that, and getting them past that emotionally. And we have a certain value to the movement as Iraq Veterans Against the War, and it's not just as the guys who can come back and tell the stories and give the credibility and fill in some of the details and give the alternative to the propaganda and the mainstream media's view on the war, but also as veterans who are have a strategic mindset, who are willing to work towards ending the war, who are really taking the effort and the time and the mental effort and engaging to create strategies of withdrawing direct support, that kind of thing, but also as examples of people who have gotten past the emotional BS, not just for other veterans and for military families and people who have that stake in it, but really every single American, every patriotic American who believes that this is the best country on earth. And in a way, I do too. But it's not because of our military, and it's not because of this administration or our economy or any of that. No, what makes America great and exceptional is that at the moment of our founding, our founders pledged to each other and to the cause their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to the principles of the Declaration of Independence, that all men are created equal and are endowed with certain inalienable rights, and that to secure those rights, it is worth that sacrifice. And that makes America exceptional. But only when we strive to live up to those principles will America remain exceptional. And when we make these mistakes, we have to be willing to admit it and feel the pain and move forward. And that emotional, holding on to America can do no wrong, especially in our foreign policy, and that the Iraqis and Afghans should be grateful to have our forces there occupying their countries is absurd. We need to get past that.
Okay. Let me try one more time. Have you had any personal encounters with, say, the family of somebody?
Specific stories?
Well, I want. That's what I'm interested in. I wonder if you've had any conversations, confrontations with a family who has either resisted that or gotten through that to the sadness, perhaps, on the other side of that. Somebody, my loved one did die in vain. That's what I'm curious about. What kind of transformation or encounters you've had with anybody who's really dealt with that or gone through that?
Well,
or whether they just tell you to stick it up your ass. I don't know.
The most poignant example that jumps to mind is from the bus tour last year. We were at Camp Lejeune, actually, with a huge bus that said Iraq Veterans Against the War on the side, and we were outside of a Walmart in the parking lot, in the back of the corner of the parking lot, and there were a couple Marines, and one of them, he wasn't drunk, but he seemed really drunk, and he had gotten just kicked out of the Marines against his will on a medical discharge because he had shrapnel all up and down his leg from an IED blast, and his buddies were there with him who were still in, and so he was also dealing with the frustration of not being able to be in the Marines still, and so he just flipped out when he saw us by the bus and was screaming at us and yelling like, my buddies died over there, and but there's no logic to it. There's a certain irrationality to it that is unwilling to face the facts and take a look back at the bigger picture, and it's because it hurts. I mean, it's not fun. Like being an IVAW is not easy. It's not like coming to the realization was a pleasant process, but once you get there and you realize that and you can do something about it, that's a lot more powerful. Another example is from Facebook. Actually, I got a message on Facebook from this guy. Just title was "fag," and this message read, "Dude, you're a fag. Why don't you go back to the Middle East and make it your home?" And I was just like, I looked at the guy's profile. And I was like, well, he looked kind of military. All right. So I wrote back with one word, "Really?" ? And that's when he started opening up. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I just got back from the sandbox and blah, 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 blah." And I started asking with my buddies why we were there. And I said, okay. So my response then was, okay, so I started asking the same questions too. And I didn't like any of the answers that I came to. What about you guys? And he went into it and was just like, I really enjoyed helping people over there, and I was able to help, some kids, and he's telling me stories about giving out MREs and candy and stuff like that. It was like, I really just wanted to help people. And that's not what we were doing. I didn't really like the answers I was coming to either. And it was like, I responded, and we've got going back and forth a bit, and I said, well, now that you have admitted that, and you know that you can do something about it, what are you going to do? What is it that you're going to do to overcome this problem? What is it you're going to do to help bring an end to the occupation? And, bring the troops home to defend America and be where they should be, and make sure that no American lives are lost when it's not in America's best interest and when it doesn't contribute to the national defense. And, we're having that conversation right now, but it's really amazing that this really productive conversation started with hate mail, and I get a lot of hate mail, and I've gotten death threats, but to be able to engage with someone like that, sometimes, if the medium is right and the timing is right, and you find someone when they're ready, you can have that kind of breakthrough, and it's really powerful.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.